football fix. Is that how it goes, Mr. Bierman?
Yes, sir.
That's how it goes. Special thanks to Wendy's in Chesterfield, Missouri for sponsoring the Football 360 show. Great time. Any place, anytime that you go up there, you can find them in Chesterfield Valley. Work hard, play hard. Wendy's is family owned and operated. Known for their pizza, wings, and live entertainment. You can have a great time inside or out on the heated patio. And today would be a good day for the heated patio with the weather.
Day.
This whole week. Wendy's also has carry out and online ordering available. Stop by and check them out. You won't be disappointed. It's always a good time and good food, great food. And it is Halloween, so I'm stumbling a little bit here.
Well, you got your costume
ready? I'm excited.
Ready?
I got my costume ready. I was going to go as unmasked Gene Simmons at first, which I could pull that off.
Yes, you could.
But I decided to go the Michael Myers route because that's just easier.
I have a neighbor that does that every year and scares them.
Does he? See, that's the whole thing. Although unmasked Gene Simmons would scare people too.
Yeah. And masked Gene Simmons.
The mask is too hard.
Yes, it's
too much work.
Way too much work.
Yep.
Yeah, and then you got to take it off.
So what about you?
Nothing.
I'll be laying low. I think you and Stephanie should go as Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift.
Oh, that would be.
Would that not be perfect?
Yeah.
I get a thumbs up from the booth on that one.
Right.
Everybody agrees. Everybody agrees. So now you know. Run home. Just find some garish outfits. And
big chain.
And do that one, yeah. And then have Stephanie act like she loves you and hates you at the same time.
Right.
And then write a song.
And then he's going to write a song about me.
Yeah. There you go. So he is Matt Bierman. I am JP Rock, your host for the Football 360 show. Got a special, scary, spooky good Tuesday afternoon edition since it is Halloween. And you and I like to trick or treat.
Yeah.
So
why miss that one time a year?
Why miss it? Exactly. It'd be like missing Christmas, right?
Yeah.
When you were a kid, was Halloween like right up there with Christmas?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 4th of July, Halloween, I was all about it.
4th of July, Halloween, Easter, of course, and
of
course, Christmas. Yeah. It was all good. Still, we never outgrow Christmas.
No, you know what? The kids in my neighborhood go pretty crazy over it. The kids I coach, they're in 7th grade, so they're still doing it, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure raiding candy at epic levels all across the neighborhood.
Oh, absolutely. It goes into the teen years, and you'd rather have them do that than something else.
100%.
So that's pretty good. Although trunk or treat is really kind of taken. Yeah, we used to hoof it, man, for miles when we were kids.
Yeah, fill the pillowcase, put a pillowcase, and go.
Go back to the house, empty out, go back out. So we are here to talk about football, not our childhood or holidays, but so a lot of good football stuff going on. If you want to sponsor the show, you want to support the show, you want to reach out to Megan at football360show.com. That is her email address. Reach out to her if you're interested in being a sponsor. We would appreciate that as I turn my phone off. Our social media is Football 360 Show on X, Twitter, and Football 360 Show on Instagram as well, correct?
Correct.
And people can reach you at?
Elite Football on Twitter, and then on Instagram, Elite Football Academy.
And you can reach me at JP Rock MO on X, Twitter, and JP Rock Scouts U on Instagram. And if you have any questions for us that you'd like us to talk about on the show, then go ahead and hit us up there. We'll be more than happy to talk about it. I know, I was at games this past weekend, and a lot of support for the show. A lot of people love it. People, coming up.
I mean, I'm hearing the same thing. I go to a high school game or two, and people walk up and say, "Hey, I listened to that." I'll get a text or a phone call. Wanting to talk more about the topic we were talking about, or just telling us that they had, it was really good to hear and learn about, different aspects of recruiting, how things really go behind the scenes, and how to lay out a map for what they should be doing.
Well, that's the great thing. It's entertainment, but it's informational.
Yep.
And it can be helpful as well.
Well, at the end of the day, like, we're here to teach and help people understand the process of being a high school player, being a youth player, and then possibly going on to that next level, right? And whatever that next level is for them. And I think we're able to really dial in because of your unique background, my background, and training and coaching. And I think we're able to meld that together and give people some valuable information that, quite honestly, not a lot of people are talking about, but a lot of people have questions about.
Well, and a lot of people don't know, and that's the thing. When I talk to parents, parents don't know. They get no information. They get no teaching, no anything regarding the whole process, whether it be recruiting, whether it be about how to get their kid involved, whether it be how to make their kid better. They're just in the dark. And so, information like this is good. And the thing about us, and the thing that why we've worked together for at least 16 years now, believe it or not, coming up on the 16th anniversary.
Long time.
Is that crazy? 16th anniversary of the Elite Football Combine. Is that the fact that we are here to help. We are here to help kids. We never do anything to put them in a bad light, to hurt them. We never do anything selfish for us. There's a lot of people out there that do. A lot of people out there looking for notoriety or looking to do this or looking to do that, be a hanger-on or just to make some extra scratch with nothing wrong with that. But when it's your kid, you want to make sure that you hook up with the right people who have the right motives, and what's best for your kid.
Motives are everything, right? If you're involved in the business we're involved with, motives are everything. If you're a coach, your motives are everything. If you're, a parent even, a really interesting thing. I was telling some guys a story I heard years ago, and I think it, as a young coach, I heard it, and it opened my eyes. It was Mac Brown, and he had literally just won. It was I think he was that weekend after they just won the national title when he was at Texas. So he had Vince Young and all those guys. Mm-hmm. And he comes in and he made a statement. And he was talking about how to deal with parents on teams, and he said he really framed it as, hey, I just won the national title, but you have to understand, he's like, the parents on my team, God put them here, and that's their child. So they're more concerned about their child than your team. Yep. So if you see it from their perspective, it doesn't mean you kowtow to their every want and need at the mercy of your team, but it's also understanding that those parents do have concerns, and a lot of times those concerns are because they just simply are in the dark and they don't have all the information, right?
Right.
We all know as parents, kids don't give you all full answers, right? They don't talk a lot in detail sometimes when you ask them questions. And that's part of being an adolescent, right? That's just part of the maturation process. But as a coach, you have to discern through that, or as a scout or someone in the training business, you have to kind of see through that and understand that there is a way to bridge that gap. And the more people are on the same page and understand, I think the better the outcome. But Mac Brown, said, look, we won the national title, and I guarantee you there's parents of kids on my team that would far rather see their kid treated with respect and given an opportunity to compete than us win the national title. And he said, you have to come to that realization as a coach. And, at the end of the day, like I respect that because, yes, the parents do, and I am a parent, and I want to see my kids given every opportunity, but that they earn, but not just because they're on a team. So, I think that's kind of a unique perspective.
It really is, and as a coach, you really, and you know this because you coach, you really have to have good people skills in knowing how to deal with parents and knowing how to deal with each individual situation, because no two are the same. Mm-mm. Everybody's got a different story. Everybody's got a different background, and so you really have to have that skill. And God bless the good ones who do have that skill.
Yep.
And I saw a lot of it this past week in the cold and rainy weather.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, it finally hit. I mean, it was cold, I think, the previous week, but it wasn't that cold.
Yeah, and rain.
The rain really adds a little something.
Yeah.
That
you start getting below 50 degrees with rain. That, you're outdoors.
That's fine. And you know me, I like to go wear the shorts until December if possible.
Yeah.
But that was a no-go.
Yeah, no.
Had to bundle up. Yeah, and youth football, I saw a bunch of it this weekend. Really good stuff, and people do need to remember it is a developmental league. It really is. Youth football is developmental.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't realize that. You have some parents who don't realize that. You have some coaches that don't realize it. Luckily, I saw some good officiating for the most part. There was one official who spent a little too much time with his hot chocolate, and so it delayed the second half of the game. It was cold out, but for the most part, it was really good. And you have to know how to deal with the losing as well as the winning, and with how your kid is being developed and how they're not, and the whole process in that thing. And I saw some stuff, and I got to tell you what, I see more passion on these youth games from parents than I do in the high school.
Oh yeah, I think that's
some of it's good, some of it's not.
What do you develop? I think again, what's the motive of doing a youth league, right? The youth league, the league that we're involved in with my youth team, has high school coaches are involved in it on the board, so like they're giving their feedback. But the whole goal is to develop these guys for high school football, right?
Correct.
To give them an opportunity to develop at a younger age, so when they get to high school, they're prepared and or at least have a semblance of an idea of what they're doing. That doesn't mean if you're a lineman in 7th and 8th grade, you're going to be a lineman all the way through high school.
No.
It doesn't mean that the high school is going to run the same system. It just means that you have gotten in a position where you understand how to play the game. You feel somewhat confident within different roles on the team, and I think that is definitely something that we can do and keep getting better at. And I think it has gotten better over the years. And there's so many different youth leagues. Some of it is there's a lot more right now, but they're a lot smaller than they used to be.
Yes.
But now there's also the rise of the middle school feeder programs has definitely helped. I think secure, because you're getting a game day experience at the high school fields. You're getting to play the game at good times typically, sometimes under the lights, which is pretty cool for these guys. And they don't realize how good, 9 years ago, they're playing on grass fields.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, yeah. In fact, I'm shocked at some of the fields, how good the fields are that these kids are able to play on now. No divots, no rocks in the fields. You remember that when you'd go to a field and there were rocks in the field? And
something, too, about the referee thing I just wanted to circle back on. Something that, I don't see a lot of is a lot of younger guys out there,
Right.
So I think we probably need to get together like a concerted effort to recruit guys in that were football players. I mean, I think a common complaint is sometimes there's people reffing that don't even have not played the game, and I think football is a really difficult game to referee if you have not played it, right? Because you have to know the intent of certain situations, right? You need to have a good idea. Doesn't mean you have to have played the game or at a high level, just let alone just played it at all. But I think we could really do a better job of recruiting these high school kids after they graduate and start pointing them in a direction.
There's a lot of guys who want to stay involved in the game.
And that's another way to do it. And really, for any of you young guys listening, if you want to go down a career path, that there's a pretty wide open pathway with a lot of young guys that aren't doing it. Refereeing, and some of these guys make good money. The professional ones make good money. The college ones make good money. High school ones make enough money for their time, but you could start out in the youth and high school ranks and rise up pretty quickly these days.
Yep, absolutely. So talk a little bit more about that if you want. We're also going to talk some Mizzou and college football. A lot of cool stuff going on. Mizzou, of course, has the big Georgia game coming up. Some very cool stuff happening team-wise, game-wise. Some upsets. Love to see that this time of year. Some local guys doing really well. Can mention about them. High school playoffs, round 2. Happens, last weekend it was some of the not of the best teams were playing. They all had bye weeks for the most part, but there were still some good games. But now, as it shortens, everybody's playing a good team. Everybody's going to have some better competition. Yeah,
I mean, you figure half the teams in the state are done, right? So, after that first week, and then it starts to pare down, and starts the funnel gets tighter, and everybody's good.
Better games, better games each week. You hope.
Yeah, you certainly hope.
Some teams slide through. Some teams, have like 1-win seasons, and they somehow manage to rise to the.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a perfect way to do the playoff system. I know Missouri's done it a certain way, and Illinois does it a little differently. I'm sure that there's other states that probably do a little bit better than us, but it seems to work.
Right. You deal with what you have.
Yep.
And so you go from there. And it usually works itself out just fine in the end. Also, recruiting's heating up. A lot of offers going out to 2025 kids, 2026 kids. I ran into Talon Chandler, who was on the show last week at the Warrenton game.
Yes.
His dad, Dr. Jim,
worked
it. Yeah.
He used to be a superintendent there.
He used to be a superintendent there. So I'm walking along the sideline, right? I'm going over to the Lutheran St. Charles side, and I'm like, who's this big dude coming at me waving hysterically?
Yeah, well, and that was a heck of it. We got a really good response from his interview last week, and he's such a mature kid, and I'm sure he was happy to get back and see, because he knows a lot of kids on the Warrenton team.
Yes.
Because he played junior ball there, I think, for a little bit before they moved. No, his brother did.
They know everybody out there.
Yeah, and then but he knows everybody out there, and then obviously he played at Lutheran.
Yeah, he did. And so he was out there all decked out in his Colorado gear, wearing shorts. And it was about 40 degrees and rainy.
Well, he better get used to it because he's going to be out in Colorado.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah. No, he was used to it. So high school recruiting, we can talk about what's going on as far as offers and stuff like that. And then a little behind the scenes stuff, how parents are going to deal with stuff. The Elite Combine. Is it time to officially announce it?
Yeah, so the 2024 Combine will be Saturday, March 9th at Lou Fuse Athletic. We just opened up registration, and the space is limited. We lock it out every year, and then, of course, we have people that want to beg to get in at the last second. So it's usually the night before is a nightmare with people, because it'll fill up probably 4 or 5 days in advance. We'll just shut down the registration because it's full. And we will definitely have people, lobbying to get get in. So
we'll talk a little bit more about that. And I mean, it is without a doubt the premier high school combine in the Midwest, and that is without a doubt. And I would know because I go everywhere and look everywhere. And the numbers back that up. And you're not huge on touting that. But I'm going to go through a little list here. I just picked a year at random, 2020.
Okay.
And you'd be surprised the number of guys who are playing college football right now at high levels and doing pretty well.
And a lot of these guys, this is their very first experience, like their coming out party, if you will, where guys, they start getting verified and offers start popping. I mean, you keep track of it much better than I do. And you every year, like, hey, did you see this, and this? And it happens.
Absolutely. And in fact, a couple of guys just this week, we're going to talk about them a little bit later. It's like offers from who came last year as a sophomore, end of their sophomore year, offers from Tennessee, Washington,
the who's who right now.
Oh, without a doubt. And it's like, I'm not picking these guys. I'm not picking these guys to talk about because of that. That just happens to be the fact. Yeah,
I have a guy every year that sends me a list of every. We maintain our list of kids that we train. That's on our website. If you'll get bored, you can go look at our website and look at the guys we've trained over the years, and from the NFL all the way down, and it's amazing to me, right? And and oddly enough, there's certainly kids we have missed. I mean, there's probably a good 50 to 100 kids that just over the years maybe did not get added in at that time, but he sends me a list every year of all the D1 players from our region and from St. Louis metro area, and the vast majority of the names we've trained and I know, right, just because of what we do, and know them as well.
Well, it's pretty cool. And I was, you look at the list, and a couple of kids who are doing pretty well. One of them is Cameron Epps. I was looking at that list, and Cameron's name, boom, pops up at Oklahoma State right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that we trained him when he was in middle school, and then I trained him a little bit when he was trying during the COVID time. He wanted to be he did not. I think they wanted him to play some quarterback.
Yeah,
right, like a wildcat.
Yep.
And he was definitely, this is not going to be. Yeah, he is more of a defensive back for sure, and that's what he's playing in college, and he's dominating, right? And he's long, he's got good size. He played Midwest Boom with us as well. That was probably our best defensive backfield we've ever had in our 7-on-7. Cam Epps, Toriano Pride. We had Isaac Thompson.
Yep.
We had. Trying to think who else. There was like 5 or 6 Power 5 Division I defensive backs, and that year got cut a little short just with what was going on in the health of everybody. But yeah.
No, and another guy who's doing really well in college at Kansas, Luke Grimm, a 2-time Elite Football Combine attendee. And Luke came in there, and there was, we don't have any offers yet. And it was a struggle to get him, offers, even though he came to the Elite Combine, was running a 4.5 40, was broad jumping 10 feet.
Yes.
And he's just
he's a kid that I remember early on. You were like, hey, you got to watch this kid. You got to push this guy.
He's a big time kid. Yeah. Because what we were talking about last week with Talon, where they told him he was the best junior lineman there, but he didn't have any offers, so they couldn't do anything for him. I'm the opposite. I will see a kid and people will be like, well, hey, how's this kid who's a freshman or sophomore? You're calling him a big time player. I'm like, watch. And Luke was one of those guys.
Well, so so this goes down that pathway. So, we put out a little clip of that last week, and I think that probably offends people that, that we exposed, that 9 times out of 10, they're not, go just as a simple, test, go look at any scouting service and see how many kids are 3, 4, or 5 star that do not have offers.
Fan service, yeah.
Just go look, because if you look and find it, let us know, because I will tell you the offers precede stars. Like, that is the way it works. So there's a kid who I'll tell you, I think is going to blow up, and this summer, we help run the Lindenwood Mega Camp. And so I walked over to one of the coaches and I said, hey, listen, from Iowa, there's a kid here named Robbie Preckle from Lafayette High School. He is, to me, so Sam Laporta was a guy that, early on at the beginning of the Lindenwood Mega Camp, he was there, I think, as a sophomore. And I walked over and I talked to a guy in Nebraska. I talked to, I think, the Iowa guys. And I'm like, hey, I had seen him somewhere else, and I think he did a tryout with us, or he'd come in and train, whatever it was. I knew who he was, and so I walked over and said, hey, you need to keep your eyes on this guy. So long story short, this past summer, Coach Woods at Iowa, we were talking, and I said, hey, we were talking about Sam Laporta, who just got drafted to the Lions, who's having one heck of a season. excellent. The kid's, he's a stud. Scored last night, as a matter of fact. So, was to ask it. I just said, "Wait, what were his stats?" And Coach Wood looks at his phone, pulls it up. He knew
from Lindenwood.
Yeah, he knew his stats.
Oh, hey, I'll do you one better.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what it was. He was 6'4", 205, and ran a 4.6 40.
Yep, he had, and he.
I don't need my phone.
He pulled it out of his phone. JP's got it in his.
I got it in my head.
His vault.
I got it in my head.
Robbie Preckle is right in that same. He was probably a year younger, and he's
Robbie's
right
6'3", 205. Absolutely, ran a 4.5, like a 4.5, 4.58. And not only at Lindenwood, but also at the coaches.
St. Louis Metro football coaches. Yep. Yeah, and is willing to sell out and go catch the ball. So
without a doubt,
a kid like that, okay. If he shows up at let's just call it one of the national, scouting camps for a news site,
right.
Rivals, 24/7, those guys, he could dominate, and he would not get the offers, right? He'll
get a mention.
He'll get a mention. Yeah, you get a mention like, hey, this guy's a high stock riser or whatever. But legitimately,
someone to watch is the phrase.
Now he will be a guy that once someone pops on him, let's say it's a Power 5 in Iowa or Iowa State, Missouri, because he's going to be a big kid. He is he
looks like a
be
linebacker.
Prototypical hybrid tight end H-back, like a Sam Laporta. He will then suddenly get stars, and he will earn them because he's already earned them, in my opinion. If you watch him, in my opinion, he's as good as many 4 stars out there, right? But he's not a well-known guy, right? He was
doesn't play at a pipeline school.
Yeah, correct. He plays at a quality school, and they're throwing him the balls. He's a human highlight reel. So again, that's just a typical story of things that we see on a daily basis, where you scratch your head and you say, why is this system go like this? But at the end of the day, make no mistake, if a college coach pulls pulls the trigger on an offer, that speaks volumes, and then that starts to a chain reaction of other things that happen within the recruiting process.
Yeah, and this is why I tell players and parents, it is a marathon, not a sprint. I have a lot of parents who come to me and are like, my kid is this, a freshman, a sophomore, a junior even. They're not getting offers. We're not seeing anything. We don't have any rankings, any of that. I'm like, just wait, be patient, have perseverance. It's going to come. Now, if it's not going to come, I'll tell them that too. I'm like, well, there's no shame in playing college football at a lower level, whatever. But you have to be patient because it will come. It is a marathon. And so if you do what you're supposed to do, and you keep building, you keep working, you keep building, you ultimately want to be building. We talked about that before. You want to keep building yourself as a player, building your skills, building yourself as a person. It will eventually happen for you. You know, it just takes time. Or you might have to take a detour route like a Cody Schrader or some of these other guys.
So
but it will happen for you if you're that guy.
The way it works now, I mean, so two things. On one side of the spectrum, you know, you're begging to get that first offer. Everybody's in that same boat until they have their first offer, right? Even though people are telling you, hey, it's going to come.
Yep.
But then it goes real fast, right? One of our quarterbacks, Story, he didn't have anything. All of a sudden, he's got a bunch, right? He's got a bunch. And then the conversation switches to real quickly, hey, when do you think we need to commit? Because there's other guys in his class committing. Right. So then there's this, do we wait? Should we wait? Are we good enough to wait? You know, are we going to have a bunch of offers, or are these going to be kind of phantom offers when someone takes it away from us by committing?
There's committable offers and there's non-committable offers.
Correct. So we need to get into that someday because that will be, you know, that is a real tricky business.
But if you want to find out real quick, commit.
Yeah.
See what they say. And if they tell you, hey, you know what? Well, we want you to make sure, guess what? It might not be a committable offer.
And
I'm sorry, you were talking about your guy who quarterback.
Yeah, so just giving the advice of, hey, where do you think you want to go, right? Like and if you pared it down to 3 or 4, this kid's these are all committable offers for him because he's a high level quarterback. But on the flip side, then it turns into a strategy of where do you really want to go? Do you want to play the recruiting game, right? But do you want to maximize your NIL and all that fun stuff? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of angles, right? But you know, to the Cody Schrader angle, oddly enough, I got a phone call from a friend of mine that's a college coach at a Power 5 school, and he was asking me about a young man who came out of our area a couple years ago, who is a D2 player. Mm-hmm. Who's having one heck of a year. So,
would I know this young man?
Yeah, you would.
Okay.
And I believe you would know him. So he was asking questions about character and things that I knew, all that stuff, right? Typical questions.
Right.
Because he was wondering in his mind, this kid is clearly a Division I player. Why is he playing a Division II? Mm-hmm. So I flipped it and said, hey, look, it just might have been the cycle of recruiting. He was towards there was issues with COVID, all that fun stuff. And he just kind of got missed. And he was a stud.
Happens all the time.
And he's proving it at the D2 level. So then, you know, that's going to be a situation where he probably hits the transfer portal, maximizes his value, right? He couldn't have done that 5 years ago. Now he can. And, I think it's one of those things that you got to know that there's people always watching. You know, it's never over till it's over. Now more than ever. I think it's more difficult in many situations, but if you are a dude, I think it's easier than ever to rise the ranks. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
So
absolutely, because when you have the guys like the Cody Schraders popping up, guess what? They're going to start looking now. Mm-hmm. They're going to look where they haven't before. Yeah. And so that opens up another avenue.
Speaking of committable offers, a well-known in-state quarterback this is a number of years ago, went to commit to a well-known in-state school and got a message back from a coach who's no longer there and said, hey, yeah, that's great. Yeah, and I understand, because he had made the phone call, and I told the player, I said, do not text him.
Right.
You need to talk to him.
Without a doubt.
So he left a voicemail and then left a text and said, hey, coach, I'm ready to pull the trigger and commit. Mm-hmm. The response was something to the effect of, oh, that's great. Hey, there's no hurry, no reason to rush.
We want you to make sure.
Yeah, we want you to make sure. Yeah. Don't worry about it. But he was slow playing him. Yep. So I got that message. I got on the phone to the head coach and I said, hey, listen, is this an offer, yes or no? He's trying to commit. And 2 minutes later, he got a phone call from the head coach and they accepted it. So the coordinator who was about to get fired was the guy slow playing it, the head coach who had the ultimate say.
Yeah.
Came in and made it right. And
what that tells me is the coordinator liked another quarterback.
100%.
And was waiting on that.
And the head coach wanted that guy.
Yes, and that's how it goes. And you see that all the time. And there are guys who've played at the University of Missouri and who haven't played, and there's been that dynamic.
Yeah.
I remember when Matty Mock was being recruited. There was another kid named Gunnar Kiel who was in Indy. You remember him? I think he wound up playing at Indiana, maybe.
Yeah, he was a big recruit.
Indiana, Notre Dame, everybody wanted him. And the coordinator wanted Gunnar Kiel. The head coach wanted Matty Mock. Loved Matty Mock. And so that kind of thing happens all the time.
Yep.
And it's just one of the fascinating background.
It happens all the time. So like those are the little stories that, when we talk with authority about certain things, it's because we've been involved in it, not to brag, not to do. It's just something that happens on a daily basis. And I think if people really knew some of the stuff that went on and the politics, even inside of coaching staff, they would be a little taken aback.
Oh, and the stories.
The stories,
you could tell.
And there's personalities on all the different staffs, and there's people, there's guys rotating from job to job, and certain guys are in certain groups of coaching trees, and they want to be, they kind of want to work back to get with those guys, and they don't really care what bridges they burn.
Certain guys are holding up programs, no matter how storied the head coach is. They're behind the scene guys, they're assistants who are basically running the thing, and the head coach is just the front guy.
Figurehead, yeah.
Figurehead. It's fascinating. Really big name guys. So last week we were talking about the playoffs, and we really didn't get a chance to focus on it too much. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and go through it just a little bit. Some of the matchups that we're going to see coming up here, and I know you know all the players as well. So one that fascinates me just because I'm not super familiar because I didn't get a chance to see him this year is Seckman versus Oakville. Seckman being 9-0 and against Oakville, who's 6-4.
I think Seckman's got a good quality. I mean, they've got a really good program.
Yep.
Looking at their strength of schedule, which is probably a little bit on the little weaker side, but that doesn't mean anything, right? I mean, you play who you play. Yep. So I think Oakville will be a good challenge because, you got Ethan Venables, who is an animal.
He is
both
an animal.
sides.
He can play for Eddie College in the country.
And I think we talked about last week, he got a preferred walk-on to Wyoming. I mean, to me, utterly good for them for shooting their shot, but disrespectful in the sense that they clearly are not evaluating him as an athlete. Or the other side of it, though, is maybe they really don't have room at that position right now. Right,
but they recognize his ability. Right.
So I say disrespectful in the sense that he's a kid that can certainly play at that level, and should be getting a scholarship to play at that level. He's hard nosed, big, fast, strong.
He's a big time player. He can do it all.
He can do it all. Yeah.
He can do it all on either side of the ball for you. He could be that H-back. He could be a fullback if you're still using a fullback. He's a linebacker. He can play D-end.
Yep.
He does it all. He's about 6'2", 220.
Yeah. And he works his tail off.
Absolutely. Loves the weight room, fast, athletic, you name it. He does it all. So, I mean, that pretty much, describes Oakville. Yeah. So you never know what.
No, that should be a really good matchup.
That would be a very interesting matchup to me because you look for like these trap games, where who can jump up and just bite you. And that's one to kind of keep your eye on. CBC is going to be at Marquette. Not used to that. Not used to seeing CBC go on the road to a Marquette.
I think CBC is a really dangerous team. I think we talked about it a number of weeks ago.
Yep.
I mean, some of their road wins. I mean, they went over to Indiana and beat up on two of the better teams in Indiana, and then Lipscomb Academy down in Tennessee, which they're a really good team, right? Got great facilities, really good buzz around their program, and then I think they lost down in Arkansas, and then they had a loss here in town. So, but they are. To DeSmet, they are very dangerous. I mean, they're well coached. They got a lot of weapons. I think they're playing a lot better football than they were at midseason. So, I think that it'll be a good for Marquette to get them on their home turf, though.
Absolutely,
really good for them.
And with Marquette, I mean, their quarterback, Caden
Thornberry,
pretty well. And he's having himself a good year.
Yeah.
Justin Jackson, might be he's one of the leading rushers in St. Louis this year. Another guy who was at the Elite Combine, doing really, really
Deshaun
well.
Anderson, Tyree Bonnet, really
the
solid.
brothers, Donovan and Brian, is just really good on
They got a solid
Max
team.
Scott.
Yep.
They do.
Ryan Mitchell. I mean, they have
a lot of guys
on the line, so they got
they're talented.
a really solid program. And you look at like the teams in the West County area, they've really, Coach Stewart's done an excellent job of developing them in the off season and building a really solid program.
Yeah, and I mean, just football all around. And I did an article on Prep Red Zone the other day about greater area running backs, because you got guys down in Franklin County, you got guys out in Warren County, you have guys in Jefferson County, and that football has just blown up.
Yep.
And gotten so much better than back in the day. It isn't even crazy. And West County football as well.
Yep.
You know, you that's just a thing. DeSmet, you talked about how CBC lost to them. They have Hazelwood Central at home. And Hazelwood Central started off the season really, really in a bad place, losing 56 to nothing to Lutheran North.
Yeah. And
they really went through a rough spot, but they managed to pull out 6 wins. You know, I think they started 0-4 maybe.
Yeah, I know they had a couple close ones early on, and obviously they got beat up pretty good at the beginning of the season. But again, they have high quality athletes. They have some big boys. They got national level recruits. They're a dangerous team.
They have everybody back. You know, there were a couple guys missing throughout the year, but they're back and everybody's healthy and everybody's together. So that's going to be an interesting game. And offensively, they're picking it up. A couple of running backs you're familiar with, Kareem Burns and Antoine Gunn, who played on your Bloom team.
Yes, both of them. Yeah.
Antoine, heck of a receiver. Just
very good athletes. Very good athletes.
Fast. Antoine has good size. He's gotten bigger, and, you know, he's a really good running back, but What amazes me about him, and I've watched him a couple times this year in person, is he can really get downfield and catch the ball from the running back position.
Which is dangerous in high school.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's dangerous in the pros and college, but in high school, you know, linebackers are probably a little less able to cover than guys at the college and pro level.
Right. And, of course, Hazelwood Central features Tion Gray, who's headed to Oregon, Brandon Mason, who's going to be – he has about 16 to 20 D1 offers as well. 6'6", 240-pound guy, plays defensive end and offensive tackle. And Jackson Somerville is their quarterback, another guy who has D1 offers as well. And of course, DeSmet, their entire front seven is pretty much D1 guys. Jason King, Ashton Phillips, Caleb Red, Mike Phillips. You know, Titan Davis, who we talked about here, who just picked up a Kansas State offer.
Yes,
not too long. We talked about him with Coach Merritt. So they're just loaded, and offensively, Dylan Duff.
Yep, they've got some weapons on offense. I mean, Dylan can run the ball. Obviously, can throw the ball.
Really surprised at his running ability.
Yeah, he can run.
He can really run. He's a dangerous. You don't think of him as a dual threat, but
fast.
He's very fast. Who would he remind you of?
Brady Cook.
I was going to say that. I was waiting for that, but I wanted you to confirm.
Similar, real similar.
Very much so.
Very similar.
A little bigger than Brady, though.
Yeah. Yep.
At the same stage.
Yeah, same stage. He is a little bit bigger.
Yeah, but a similar guy. Jaden McCaster is a sophomore running back, really talented kid as well. So that's going to be a good matchup. Ozark travels to Nixa. Nixa is loaded. They're a team that is, I think, is going to surprise a lot of people. They look like they're headed for an ultimate showdown with Lee Summit North.
Yep.
But Jackson Cantwell, who we had on the show, is part of Nixa. Jacob Lyle is another big offensive lineman, was at the Elite Combine, a big kid, 6'3", 6'4", 270-pound up guard, who did really well last year and who's going to be getting some college looks as well. Just a really, really talented, hard-nosed team from Southwest Missouri, well coached. And I think I think Ozark's in for a tough one. Ozark has a really good junior linebacker named Parker Elliott, who's about 6'2", 220, who colleges really need to take a hard look at. They also have a big wide receiver, Jace Watley, who you probably saw at Lindenwood.
Yep. Big
6'5" kid who's dangerous as well. Lee Summit has the task of facing Lee Summit North, and Lee Summit North is just a machine this year.
Yeah. They are, I mean, just they're really good, top to bottom.
Top to bottom, inside out. Another team, just heavy with college prospects.
They're ready. Like, I mean, they talk about learning from losing, right?
Yep.
They had a tough loss last year. I mean, down to the wire with CBC, and now they're. Coach Mosey was talking about the determination in the off season and the focus, and I think it's fun to hear that because you get a second chance. Those seniors lose that chance, but your program. And those younger guys get to come try and right the wrong that they feel they had.
Exactly. And, Will Nwaneri is on that team, committed to Mizzou. Some places have him as the number one guy in the country. Isaiah Mosey, Coach Mosey, Jamar Mosey's nephew, wide receiver, heavily recruited. Kamari Moore, who was at the Elite Combine a couple years ago, committed to Oklahoma. Speaking of guys who were going to be playing college ball, who played at, attended the Combine, he's just a monster this year. In fact, Kamari's having a better year overall stat-wise than Will is. Playing nose guard, he's lean, 6'2", 285, 288.
In high school.
And quick as all get out. If you go to my Twitter, JP Rock Mo, you can look at some old film of him from the Combine a couple years ago. And he came as a freshman to the Combine. Yep. And, he was just shedding guys, I always love watching the
one-on-ones at the Combine. And there's some epic battles.
Yeah, he was big then. He was 300 pounds then as a freshman, but he's gotten himself into better physical condition, and so he's just killing it. Also, SLU is going to be at Rittner. That's going to be an interesting game.
Rittner's dangerous.
Exactly.
They throw the ball well. And you can see they've gotten down. They come back. They got down against Lafayette and then rallied back on them, and they definitely have turned the program around.
They really do. Coach there has done a really good job. Jaden Barnett, the quarterback, really talented guy. I was at a game this year, and he threw for over 300 yards, ran for 150 yards.
He worked his butt off this offseason. He trained with
really
us,
has.
And he's a really good kid, works really hard, can run with the ball, can throw the ball. I think he's the lifeblood of that team.
He really is. How he goes is how the team goes. But they're pretty solid all the way around. They've got a bunch of guys who can play college ball on a lower level, and they just really do well as a team. Really solid.
They've bought in.
They've bought in, and SLU, of course. Ryan Wingo seems like he's back. He's had a couple of really good games the past couple of weeks, and Marco Sansone. Here we go. Is there a quarterback in St. Louis that you guys haven't trained?
No, he's one we've trained since he's been a little kid.
Right, he's one you've trained. They're a little banged up with their running backs and whatnot, but just solid, both sides of the ball on the line. We didn't talk too much, and we can later, but the commitment of Ryan Wingo to Texas. That's coming up within recruiting. Yeah. We're going to talk about that. That's an interesting one. Yeah. That's an interesting one. I'm curious to see what your feedback you received was regarding that one. Blue Springs at Liberty North. That's a tough one for Blue Springs. Liberty North is the only team they've lost to is Lee Summit North. And that was in the first game, and they seem to have really hit on all cylinders now, which is a good time to do it. Heading into the playoffs, a lot of college caliber guys from their quarterback. Tillman Martin is really good, just a junior. A couple of guys who were committed to Barry Odom at UNLV. Melvin Laster and their nose tackle is as well. And they're just talent across the way. They have a wide receiver, Keelan Smith, who's committed to Nebraska. Just one of those schools out in Kansas City that just have a bunch of D1
really
guys.
Good athletes.
Very good athletes. And then Oak Park is going to be playing Staley. Oak Park has one of the best 2025 running backs in the state, and a kid named Trayvon Pankey.
Yeah. You've talked about him numerous times.
Oh, yeah. 6'1", about 200 pounds, track speed, very fast. And so far, it looks like K-State might be in the lead because they're the ones showing the most interest in him so far. But he's a guy who can run for 300 yards in a game.
You don't see a lot of those anymore.
No, you really don't.
Let's say about 10 years ago in the training space, we saw the shift away. We still have kids that train running back, but everybody pushed the receiver.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Everybody pushed the receiver.
Right. Well, I don't know if it was this past weekend or a weekend before that. There was a young man who was at the Combine last year. Here we go again. Jamarian Smith down at Portageville, ran for 436 yards and 6 touchdowns.
Wow.
And beat, I believe that was a game they beat New Madrid Central. So you do have those guys out there, but
they always have running backs down in the area.
Let me tell you, the Boot Heel produces a lot of
really good athletes
that get overlooked.
Yeah,
and for various reasons, there's certain issues sometimes, but a lot of times they just get overlooked.
Hayti. I mean, they're down this
Hayti,
year, but
yeah.
historically, a lot of those kids will come from Hayti.
William Moore,
They'll come up
remember?
and they'll come and train in our facility.
Yes.
And it's no easy. They get a 3+ hour drive to get there, and good kids.
Yeah.
Probably don't have the resources that we have in our metro area, obviously in
Exactly.
their backyard.
Yep.
But they come up and usually we'll spend a day or two in town and train, and pretty cool to see. And I forgot what year it was. It was the year Isaiah Williams won state. That year, because the Hayti was coming in, we trained every quarterback that won the state title that year in Missouri,
That's
which
pretty
was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a cool statement to be able to make. And then Jackson versus Lindbergh. Lindbergh on the road. That's a tall order for Lindbergh because Jackson's just rolling. Adrian Fox, again.
Kai Crow.
They have a little freshman
Freshman
running
running
back named
back, yeah.
Jalen Hampton.
Yeah.
Not the biggest kid, but
Boy, I heard he's dynamic.
he's pretty dynamic. He's in open space. He's really hard to catch.
Yep.
He's only about 5'5", 5'6" right now. So hopefully he continues to grow. But he's
Yep.
really quick, really fast, and just a little June bug who just darts all over the
Yep.
place. Really good. And then Francis Howell is going to be playing at Lafayette, which is another really, really interesting and good game.
That should be a good matchup.
Absolutely.
Really good matchup.
Yep. So, Robbie Preckle, against Jude James,
Yeah.
matchup.
Very similar athletically,
Yep.
size-wise. Someone told me Jude James is up to 220 pounds, right?
Yeah,
So
that might
he's-
have been me. Yeah,
wow, he's
yeah.
big.
He is. He's 6'3", 220, 225, and he looks the part.
Yep.
It's all living in the gym weight.
Yep.
that
Very
he
good.
is. And looks like he's going to wind up playing linebacker or H tight end at Mizzou.
I was really surprised that they beat Vianney pretty handily, but Vianney put up 47 points.
That shocked me
Sam
too.
Dean, young Sam Dean, sophomore quarterback at Vianney, 6 touchdowns, 5 in the air, 1 on the ground.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Really impressive. I told him, I said, if you want to make a statement, that's how you make a statement last game of the year to your coaches.
What's interesting is I was on the sidelines of warm-ups for that game, just, hanging out on my way to Warrenton. So I just popped off to look at some of the Vianney guys that I hadn't had a chance to really see that much this year because I'm already seeing Howell. And Vianney's on the ascendant. That their coach is getting some young. They have some really good young talent. Sam Dean's one. Henderson is a freshman. Robert Itherton is a freshman running back who's pretty good.
Yep.
You have T.J. Woolfolk, who's really good. Who his dad came over and said hi.
Yeah, said Tony's such a good guy.
Such a good guy.
Good energy.
Yep, absolutely.
Smiles all the time. Yeah.
And so they're on their way. But yeah, that shocked me as well. But that's another really good game. That's going to be a pretty good matchup.
I think that could be one of the premier matchups.
Yeah, Alex Bell, the quarterback for Lafayette, very talented kid, thrown for over 2,000 yards past couple years, as a matter of fact.
Yep. Yeah, they put the ball up. I think Alex is his brother. Jack is the.
Oh yeah, Jack is the quarterback.
Yep, Alex is.
I always get that.
I know. There's 2 of them.
I know. I always get them confused. But yeah, no. Jack is the quarterback.
Yep.
And then Zay Jones.
He's a stud.
Yeah, he does everything. He runs it. He catches the ball as well. Fort Summerall West is going to be at Troy Buchanan, who they just played a couple weeks ago, and Troy beat them. But again, another kind of interesting matchup. Pretty evenly matched teams.
Yes.
Fort Summerall West has a lot of talent.
Yes, they do.
Offensively.
I think they're missing some kids the first time they played, so it'll be interesting to see if that plays
That
any
matters.
factor.
Yeah, but they have the talent on offense and defense, so it'll be interesting to see. Troy Buchanan has a sophomore running back, Carter Dowell, who's just really, really talented. 6 foot, 185-pound sophomore running back, has already taken game day visits in Nebraska and is getting some looks.
They have a really, talk about a program that's really on the rise too. They've done a great job.
Yeah, a couple of their kids play with Boom with you. Ty Grigsby.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, yeah,
defensive
good
back.
looking. Yeah, good looking.
Another guy
athlete.
who's going to get college. And
Yep.
Zay Ammon played
Big.
linebacker for you guys. Big kid.
Yes.
Who really shocked me when I saw him with your Boom team, how well he could cover for his
Yes.
size.
Yeah, I think he's a prime example of someone that getting some extra work in the offseason that will, the bigger guys, linebackers don't normally get, and
Right.
do a lot of man-to-man coverage. So that will probably bode well for him down the line.
Yep. And of course, Caden Johns, the nose guard, who is a guy who we really need to have on the show, who is a great story, who just has transformed himself from his sophomore year that I saw him to where he was about 6'2", over 300 pounds, just really not in really good football shape, and has come in to your play.
He is a worker.
Man,
An
he has
absolute
worked
worker,
his butt off.
And you can tell. I mean, when you watch him,
the
even just
before and
running on the
after.
track,
Yes.
like just his movement, the ability to move his body. I mean, that's a message to kids out there that think that, oh, well, this
Absolutely.
guy got this, he's got that. You're in the prime of your life. You can change things.
Yes.
You can work. The beautiful thing about the human body is you can change it.
Yep.
But it starts with your mind.
Especially when you're young.
Yeah, when you're young, you can certainly change it a lot easier, and get around people that understand how the human body works and how to make it perform better, and then push you at the right level to help you get to where you want to go.
And he'd be a great interview for us to get in
Perfect.
here and just talk about the process that he's went through from that. Because I saw him as a sophomore, and he just he wasn't a guy. But I could see glimpses. I always see glimpses of guys. And he just took that and he built himself into something, picked up an offer recently, and still getting more interest. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him.
Somebody's going to get a guy that is he's a guy that will improve their program.
Without question. And he'll do everything you say. He's very coachable. He'll work hard in the offseason, in the weight room, do everything that you ask.
And you need a team full of those guys to be successful.
Yes. And he's a smart kid as well. So he understands it. Francis Howell Central is going to be at Rockbridge. That's going to be a tough one. Rockbridge, very talented. Brady Davidson, the D1 quarterback. Yep. They have a really good defense. Grayson Cutchlow, D1 linebacker, committed to Missouri State. Maybe he might be or has an offer from them. Bunch of really good guys. Devin Holt, guy who was at the Combine.
Yep.
Past couple of years, very fast, 6'2" wide receiver. Donovan Taylor, another Combine guy from last year, another very fast plays cornerback, getting D1 looks as well. Lee Summit West is going to be at Rockhurst. That's going to be a really, really interesting game. They're pretty evenly matched. Lee Summit West is 7-2. Rockhurst is 8-1. But Lee Summit West has they can throw the ball, have a really good sophomore wide receiver, and their quarterback Dawson Heaney can really sling it as well.
I tell you what, this should be a good year to see, hopefully, a St. Louis, Kansas City matchup, right? With two powerhouse teams getting to face off.
Pretty evenly matched teams. Because usually the past couple of years, we've seen that in, like, the semis,
Yep.
I remember seeing CBC playing Lee Summit North, and it's like, well, that should have been the championship game.
Yeah, right. I remember that.
And not knocking that off. And then Blue Spring South at Liberty and St. Joseph Central's got a potential trap game at Park Hill, who's 4-5, but they have some really good athletes as well. And I just got the chance to talk with, and it's on my Twitter, an interview with Gabe Fields, who was up at Mizzou for homecoming on a game day visit, has an offer from Iowa. And Iowa's a school that Iowa State, my bad. Iowa State's a school that recruits Missouri very well.
Oh, very well.
And Kansas State is a school that recruits.
Both those schools show up to
Missouri
Lindenwood Mega Camp with their entire staff.
Absolutely. Both those schools, pay attention to certain guys like myself and you, who do this.
That actually brings up a really, really interesting point about, like, at the Mega Camp. So the Mega Camp's the first weekend in June at Lindenwood, that Friday and Saturday. But if you look at the staffs that show up, right, say a UCLA or a Georgia sends one coach, or Notre Dame sends a coach.
You can tell who's there to recruit.
Minnesota.
Who's there for business.
I will say, Minnesota, they send their entire staff. They're there both days. Iowa State, same thing. Their head coach is there. If the head coach is there, it's a big deal, right? Kansas State, they're there. Coach Kleiman was there.
Yep.
Obviously, Missouri's there. Illinois is there. Purdue had their head coach there. They had a bunch of guys there last year. So those what I would consider a home school, a school that recruits St. Louis, that considers it as an important piece to their recruiting puzzle.
Yeah.
And those guys, when you go to schools like that consider St. Louis, they don't want to burn bridges in St. Louis if they're coming back here to get more kids. If they view this as an area they can recruit, you go in with a little bit more clout as a guy. If you're a guy that, goes to a place that does not typically get kids from our region, you better be a 5-star or someone that they really coveted, because it's really difficult to overcome some of the local bias.
Yeah, it's a great option for them to have. And what's interesting is a lot of times you see those schools go ahead and offer kids before the in-state school. You know, and kids take notice of that. I know some people are like, oh, that really doesn't matter. Nah, kids do take notice. Who is the first one to believe in me?
Yeah.
You know, to offer me. So that goes into the factor. Speaking of recruiting, since we're running down on time here, real quick, let's run through some offers that happened this past week. Jack Lang, like I said, Eureka, 6'8" lineman, was at the combine, just killed it.
Yeah.
You know, showed his athleticism at 6'8". You know, in his 40 and his jumps.
He's blown up.
He's blowing up. This week alone, he's picked up offers from Tennessee, Washington, and Vanderbilt, and was on a game day visit to Notre Dame, who's probably not too far off. And Dayton Hopkins, another elite combine 2023 alum, picked up that coveted offer from Mizzou, who seemed to be looking at him as a tight end, more than a defensive end. And he was on the show and he told us how he enjoyed playing defensive line. Kendall Hammond, another guy who was at the combine from South Shelby, Missouri, picked up his first offer from Missouri Southern, a very underrated school to go to for guys to consider. Landon Boston, who we're familiar with, elite combine, boom player, picked up his first offer from an interesting school, Truman State.
He could be the next Cody Schrader.
That's exactly what I thought. I said Jacoby Oliphant picked up an offer from Oklahoma State. Goes to SLU, 6'4", 200 pounds. Reminds me a lot of Cameron Epps.
Very similar.
Yeah, and so I'm sure the Oklahoma State coaches saw that or see that, and they're like, hey.
Same conference, all that.
Lightning in a bottle, twice. Brock Camp, who we had video of him on the show, picked up his first offer from Kent State, 6'7", 240-pound tight end. Who's very good. Cardinal Ritter's Dominic Dixon picked up an offer from Tennessee State. And Jackson Cantwell, who was on the show a couple weeks ago, picked up an offer from The Ohio State University.
He's going to have every offer.
And that's what I said to him. And he was so humble. He's like, I don't know about that. Well, I do know about that.
Yeah, he will.
Young man. He will. And what's interesting is he's going to be on a game day visit in Georgia this week. And Georgia plays Mizzou.
So I got to spend a little bit of time with Brady Cook this past weekend when he was home for the bye week. And, it should be a fun game. I know Mizzou's very confident. I don't think overconfident, but I think they're very confident in what they can do. They're going into a situation where they got really everything to gain and not a ton to lose, right? You're the number 14 team in the country playing number 1 away. And but you win this, you're in control of the East. Right?
Yeah, and it would be a defining moment in the Coach Drink era.
For sure.
It would be akin to when Coach Pinkel beat Oklahoma. In my opinion,
John McGaffey,
absolutely, John. That was amazing. I remember watching that from the press box, and I was like, "Wow, this is really going to happen, huh?"
That was amazing.
It was amazing. So we'll see what happens with that. The game is at 2:30 on Saturday. And so we'll be able to report on that, hit some more playoff stuff, some more recruiting, just some more little tidbits and helpful info for parents and players as we go along. And that's going to do it for us this week on the Football 360 show. Enjoyed ourselves as always. Everybody have fun and have a safe Halloween as you're out there trick-or-treating. And we'll talk to you next week.
Have a good week.
See ya.